can you complete a trust without an in-person office visit? Yes, you can. This is something that I'm proud to announce. We've been working very hard to offer complete virtual estate planning solutions, is what we're calling it. So the very first meeting, we call that the personal family legal session. On that meeting, we'll do a video conference, and we'll get on a screen share as well, where you can take a look at my screen. And what we'll look at first is the materials that you'll fill out, which is called the personal inventory. So we'll take a look at the personal inventory, and we'll figure out what a good plan is for you. I'll show you some of the resources that we use in this meeting when we meet virtually, and how you can do that from home. Pretty cool. Okay, so this is one of the things that we'll look at during the meeting. This welcome letter, and I want to show you this timeline. It's the estate planning timeline. So the estate planning timeline, we call the first meeting a personal family legal session. And that's where you'll meet. We'll take a look at called the personal inventory, 2-page document, super easy for you to fill out. First page is who you are you married? Do you have any kids? How long have you been married? Things like that. Second page is tell us about your stuff. What assets do you have? Do you own a house? Do you have a retirement account, bank accounts, life insurance? And with that 2-page document filled out, we'll get on a screen share. We'll talk about what plan is right for you. In the personal family legal session, we'll take a look at what your needs are, and then we use the spreadsheet. Now, this may look familiar if you've seen any of the videos on the YouTube page that I was just showing you. This is what was used actually to explain all these different concepts. Now, depending on what specific question in that personal family legal session, I like to ask, why did you schedule this meeting? What led you to do a Google search and find us? What led you to ask your friends who the best attorneys were and find us? What was the reason? Sometimes that's they want to name guardian for their children, or they know that they want to avoid probate. What is probate? That's a good topic. Let's start there. So here's Mrs. Estate, which is a house, and Mr. Estate. They own this house together. She has a bank account in her name and some life insurance. The life insurance names him as the beneficiary. She passes away. Life insurance goes to her husband. So does the house, because his name was on the deed. Now, what about the bank account? What's going to happen to that? It's just in her name. So she has a will, which names Mr. Estate, but we still have to have him appointed as a personal representative. So that requires probate. So Uncle Sam there, that's what we're showing as probate. It's a legal process to change title of an asset out of the name of the deceased. So there's lots of steps you have to go through, and it can be time consuming. There's built-in creditor periods, like you have to post and give notice and then wait for 4 months. So no matter what, it just takes a while. And then finally, he can collect the house through probate. So probate is one of those things not a lot of people have heard about. Unless they've gone through it with a family member, it's usually a new topic to people. So we usually start there. And depending on the assets that the person has, it might make sense for them to do a trust to avoid probate. Then go through how the single trust works if it's a single person, or we'll go through what we call the continuation trust, which shows how the process works for a married couple. Or we also do a very common strategy, what we call 2 single trusts. We'll do 2 trusts for each parties. We can do a complete office visit. Let me show you some of the timeline as well. So first meeting, we'll figure out what type of plan you need. We'll show you what the fees are for that plan. We'll start drafting that plan. We'll talk about who you want to name as the trustee to be in charge of the money after you're gone. We'll talk about who you'd want to be the guardian of your children if you have minor children and things like that. 1 week after your first meeting, you'll get the drafting instructions for you to approve. Okay, so this is what that looks like, the drafting instructions. So you'll meet with the attorney, you'll go over details of how you want things to be set up, and then you'll get that information back in 1 week to approve. After you approve it, you'll schedule your signing meeting. So the signing meeting, the execution meeting is what we call it. Don't worry, no one gets killed at these executions. They sound way more scarier than what they are. We do these virtually. So meet with the attorney on a screen share, review the moving pieces of your plan. We're not going to get into all the super technical stuff unless you really want to. But even then, we'll just go through the parts that affect you. And then after everything is approved, it's doing exactly what you want it to do to protect your family, then you'll sign the documents. And then the very final meeting we do is what's called the trust asset coordination session. So after you've signed your documents, we'll meet, and that can be virtually, and we'll talk about what should go into your trust. Here's a single person. So we talk about who the beneficiaries of the IRA should be. Sometimes that's the children, or sometimes that's the trust as the beneficiary. If the children are minors under 18, then we definitely want the trust to be the beneficiary. If the children are adults, then it's better to name the children directly as the beneficiaries. Now, they don't get to stretch it out over their lives anymore because of the CARES Act or the new tax laws. They still get a 10-year stretch out, though. If you name it into the trust has to pay the income taxes sooner, but we get the age protections where we have the trustee that manages it for your children until you decide they can handle it. Okay, so we'll design your plan there during the meeting, during the personal family legal session. You'll get everything to approve the drafting instructions, meet with the attorney to approve the actual draft documents, sign them, and then one more meeting with the attorney to talk about your final homework instructions, what you need to do to make sure that your plan works.